Perhaps one of the most well-known illustrations that Jesus uses to represent his kingdom is that of a tiny mustard seed. And I want to read you this verse found in Matthew chapter 13, verse 31 and 32, and it says, "He put another parable before them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, and yet when it has grown, it is larger than all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches." Isn't it interesting that in looking at a comparison of his kingdom, Jesus uses the smallest of all the seeds?
This illustration or parable was specifically given to address the question in the mind of the Pharisees as they analyzed Jesus. They wondered how this unpretending teacher could exalt Israel to universal dominion without honor or riches or power.
Jesus, knowing this, wanted to give a clear example. But notice he doesn't use any earthly government. There was no civil society that he could use as a symbol. So he goes to nature and chooses the mustard seed.
You know, so many times I think we can look for comparisons in places that can offer no answer. Jesus' kingdom, the principles of heaven, they're completely opposite from the kingdoms that rule in this world. Earthly governments and powers, they rule by physical force. They maintain their dominion by war. But Jesus, the founder of the new kingdom, he is the Prince of Peace.
In the Bible, we find that kingdoms are represented as fierce beasts of prey. But Christ, he's represented as a lamb. In his kingdom, there is no brute force, no one forcing people to do things. But it's interesting that during the time of Jesus, the people were looking to him to establish a kingdom in the same way other earthly kingdoms were established. Even when it came to religion, they had resorted to promote righteousness through external measures. They devised methods and plans, but Jesus works by implanting a principle, by implanting truth and righteousness. He counters works, errors, and sin.
The work of grace in the heart may be small at first, in its beginning. A simple word spoken, a ray of light shared into the soul, and its influence is exerted, and that's the beginning of new life. And who can measure that result? I invite you to meditate on that with me. In your role as a parent, a teacher, a group leader, or a friend, and in your life, are you cooperating with and allowing Christ to implant truth and righteousness in your life? Or are we too often devising methods and plans?
This is an important question because this illustration of the mustard seed is not only the growth of Christ's kingdom illustrated, but this parable has an application to Christ's kingdom in every stage of its growth. God's church in every generation has a special truth and a special work. In this final generation, the mustard seed is to reach the signal and triumphant fulfillment. The little seed will become a tree. That last message of warning and mercy is to go to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people, and the earth will be lighted with God's glory.
You know, you may not think that you have power or wealth or honor, but God needs you to fulfill the purpose of His kingdom in this generation. And I want to invite you to use your time, your skills, and your influence to turn that mustard seed into a tree. Would you commit that to Christ today?